Hi guys, it's Mrs. Longmire here. In our previous reading lessons in this series, we talked about how readers track characters. Our character was our one idea, and we picked one character to track all the way from the beginning through the middle and the end. We went through the whole text and we collected all the details. And we actually collected three types of details. Remember, we collected details about what the character was doing, their actions, and reactions. We collected details about what the character is saying. Sometimes there's speech bubbles or there's quotation marks, the little talking marks that go around words that they're actually saying. We collected those details. And then we collected details about what the character is thinking, his wishes or wants, feelings that they had, the self-talk, things he might be saying to himself. Those are the types of details we collected, all on one character. And so we've been working really hard to collect all of those details. Well, today we're gonna talk about, okay, once you've collected those green reading voice details, now we need to start using our thinking voice and start to think about these reading voice details and what that really means, and start to put things together to come up with brand new thoughts. Does that sound familiar? Remember when we used our inference silhouette, kind of the head, the shape of the head, and on the outside were those reading voice details, but then on the inside, on yellow, are those thinking voice details. We start to put things, it makes me think that, and we start to think about our memories that we have up in our head. And then we start to see patterns. We kind of put things together, and we do that, and we pull those reading voice details, and then we use all of our thinking voice details, and we put it all together and come up with a brand new thought. Remember, it was called an inference? It was a brand new idea. Something that the author doesn't tell us, we have to come up with a brand new idea. And that was always on pink, remember? So the inference that we're going to think about today is the character and how they change. Most of the time, characters change in the story. And we want to see how they change and why they change. That's one of the inferences that we're going to make. And then another inference that we're going to think about is the lesson that a character, usually the main character, learns some type of lesson. What did he learn? What the central message or the lesson that they learn? And we can figure that out by looking at all of these clues through the whole story, the beginning, the middle, and the end. And we can put all this together, think about what he learns, and think about how he changes. Those are the inferences that I'm going to show you how we can do that today, and how we can come up with those new inferences. Okay, and so I've got our silhouette head over here, and I'm going to show you what this could look like, and then we're actually going to write about it, because a lot of times readers, after they make their inference, they want to write about what they've learned, that new thing that they've learned, or that new thought that they've come up with. And so we're going to go back to our Pete the Cat book, and remember when we did Pete the Cat, when we were tracking, we used these tracking sheets, and we first tracked what Pete was doing, what he was actually doing in the story at the beginning, in the middle, and the end. He was going and getting his goldfish, Goldie. Then he was painting pictures for everyone, and then remember, he painted that huge picture at the end. We tracked what he did. So we might use some of those details. We tracked what he said, the words he was actually saying. You are my first pet. I'm going to call you Goldie. This is my pet fish, Goldie. He tells Mom, great idea. Remember when she comes up with her idea to paint the huge painting? And then we use this page to track what he was thinking. And so his wishes, and he wants a pet, and he wants to do something with Goldie, and he's proud of Goldie, and he wants to make everyone a picture. But then he starts to get a little bit worried because he can't paint them. He doesn't have enough time or paint to make them for everyone. And then at the end, he comes up with this huge painting, Mom's idea, right? And then he's happy because everyone can see his painting of Goldie. So those are the details that I'm going to use to pull out for our silhouette. And then I'm going to start thinking using my thinking voice. I just want you to watch, okay? So at the beginning, Pete paints a picture for everyone that asked. Bob and Tom and his grandma and everyone at school. He painted a picture for everyone. So that's the first reading voice detail. Paints pictures for everyone at the beginning. And I drew the little paint can. So that's the reading voice detail. But now I want to start to think about what that means. He really wanted to make everyone happy. Everyone that wanted a picture, he wanted to make them happy. And he was also pretty proud of his goldfish Goldie, wasn't he? So I wrote, wants to make everyone happy, because he wants to give everyone a painting that wants a painting, right? And then towards the middle, one of his details that he actually said, his words, he says, I wish I could, but I don't have time. Remember when he had to do his homework and feed Goldie, and he just didn't have time or enough paint to make everyone, right? So that was sort of the middle of the story. He says, I wish I could, but I don't have time. So when he says that, it makes me think, he's starting to worry that he can't make them for everyone. And so I have a little worried face there. He's worried he can't make them for everyone, and he really wants to share his painting with everyone, but he's worried that he can't, and that he doesn't have enough time or paint. And so he starts out, he really wants to make everyone happy, and now he's sort of worried that he can't do it, that he can't make all the paintings for everyone. And then at the end, he says to his mom, great idea. Remember when he tells her great idea? Because he loves her idea to paint a huge one. And so those are the words I wrote. Great idea. With a little light bulb. Those were Pete's words. But when he said that, it made me think he loves it because it was such a good idea, because now everyone can see his painting. He loves Mom's idea because everyone can see his painting. And he shares, and it makes him happy. He's happy at the end. He's proud that everyone can see it, and he's happy. And so those are my thinking voice thoughts at the end. So when I look at these thoughts, he starts off wanting to make everyone happy, and then he worries that he can't do it. But he loves Mom's idea because now everyone can see his painting. So I kind of see through the story that it never changes that he wants to make people happy. He wants to share his painting with everyone. That doesn't change. But what changes, because he gets worried that he can't do it, is how he does it. He changed how he shared his painting. And so that's really, I'll put it on pink because that's my new thought. He changes how he shares so that everyone can enjoy his painting. Instead of painting little pictures, now he's painting a huge picture that everyone can see. So that's really how Pete changes. He changes how he does it. And then when I think about the lesson that he learned, his mom really kind of helped him, taught him a lesson, to be creative so that you can be a light to everyone. You can shine your light to everyone. And so he wanted to share with everyone, but he had to be creative. Instead of doing little ones, he would have run out of time and paint. He had to be creative and come up with something new, a new way to share. And so the lesson that I think Pete learned was to be creative so that you can be a light to everyone. That's the lesson. And his mom really helped him learn that lesson, didn't she? Okay, so if I wanted to write about this, if I wanted to actually put it in writing about what he's learned, I could draw Pete at the beginning, drawing lots of paintings. And then at the end, he's got the big painting on the car, and everyone can see it. See that? He starts off with painting a bunch, and then he goes to painting one big one, right? So if I wanted to write that in words, I could say, Pete changed how he shared his paintings of Goldie. He was creative so he could be a light to his whole town. That's what he learned. He changed how he did he shared his paintings. And then the lesson, he was creative so that he could be a light to his whole town. So I wrote that in 2 sentences, a sentence about how he changed and a sentence about the lesson that he learns. And that's what we can do. That's the new thought. So sometimes readers want to write about what they've learned. And so you could either draw a picture like I did. You could draw a picture. He started off painting lots of paintings and then he ended with one. Or if you're starting to write words, you could write some sentences, some words to talk about how he changed and the lesson that he learned. Okay, so are you guys ready to try it with me? I think you can do this. We're going to do Little Red Hen because that's the other story that we've been kind of talking about this week in our lessons. And so we've got the Little Red Hen. Let me find those. The character tracking sheets that we did. You know, we first tracked what she was doing. Remember, she was cooking, shopping, getting butter, getting sugar and sprinkles, and carrying all the cupcakes and selling her cupcakes in her little cupcake truck. And then she was with what she says. She kept saying, "Who will help me? Who will help me get this? Who will help me get that?" And then she kept saying, "I'll do it myself. I'll do it myself." Right? And then finally she said, "It's time to go. Who will help me carry him?" And they wouldn't help her, would they? And then at the end she says, "I'm sorry. I'm sold out." So those were the details that she was saying. And then what she was thinking. She was wanting them to help her. She was wishing they would help her and get some of those things for her. But then at the end, she doesn't want them to have a cupcake, right? She says she was sold out, but we thought she doesn't want them to have one because she doesn't feel like they deserved it, right? They didn't help her. So those were the details that we collected. Those were the green reading voice details that we collected in the text and also in the pictures. And now we need to think about that and use our thinking voice and start to come up with a new thought. So I'm going to take these Pizza Cat Post-its off. And now I want you to think about the beginning of the story. What Little Red Hen, think about what she was doing, what she kept having to do. Think about that for a second. Did you say she had to go to the store herself for flour and sugar and butter and sprinkles? She kept having to go get it herself, right? That's what I was thinking. That's the reading voice detail. And so when we say that, you know, it makes, what is that? What is she thinking? Or how is she feeling or thinking towards crocodile and fox and hedgehog? What do you think? Do you think she was getting frustrated? It didn't tell us in the story that she was getting frustrated, but she just kept saying, "I'll do it myself." Or is that what you thought? I thought she was getting frustrated with them because they wouldn't help her. So those are my thinking voice thoughts. Then when the cupcakes are the day that she has to bring them to the truck, remember what she had to do? She had to carry the cupcakes herself, didn't she? Now she has to carry them by herself. Is that what you said? Yeah, she had to carry them. She's carrying the cupcakes by herself. And what do you think she's thinking? Did you say she's frustrated again? Yeah. They're just not figuring it out, are they? She can't count on crocodile, fox, or hedgehog. She is frustrated. So the same thing. I'm starting to see a pattern here, aren't you? She's getting frustrated. And then at the end, what did she say? The end of the story. When they came running towards the truck for a cupcake, did she say, "Sold out. I'm sorry," right? Sold out. When they were ready to be sold, she tells crocodile, hedgehog, and fox, "I'm sorry, sold out." And we don't really think that she was sold out, do we? We thought she just doesn't want to share a cupcake because they didn't do any work, right? She wants to kind of teach them a lesson. She doesn't want to share because they didn't help her. She wants to teach them a lesson. She's saying, "No way." Is that what you thought? Yeah. They're not really sold out. She just doesn't want them to get a cupcake because they didn't help her. So now I want you to think about how Little Red is changing in the story. At the beginning, she just kept asking them to help her, right? And at the end, when they wanted to run up and talk to her and get a cupcake, she wouldn't let them. So how do you think she's changing? Think about that. She stopped asking them for help, didn't she? She didn't ask them to help her sell the cupcakes. And she didn't give them one. Right? Little Red stops asking for help. She realizes that they can't get a reward if they didn't help her. Right? That's the how she changes. At the beginning, she wanted their help. At the end, she was over it, right? So she changed because she realized that they can't get a reward if they didn't help. And now I want you to think about what lesson can we learn from Little Red Hen? What lesson is she trying to teach Crocodile and Hedgehog and Fox? Did you say to help? Helping is nice. If you even look at the last page of the book here, it says helping is nice on the airplane. So I think the author is trying to kind of say, this is the lesson. Usually the authors don't do that, but they're kind of putting it, like subtly, like just it's on the airplane, and some kids may have caught it and some maybe didn't. But yeah, helping is nice. Little Red Hen wants to teach them to help out. She wants to teach them a lesson. That is the lesson that we can learn in this story. So that went on pink because those are the new thoughts. The author didn't tell us these. We had to use our thinking voice and come up with that as a new thought. And so if we wanted to write about Little Red Hen, we wanted to use that paper with the box. And remember that, and I've got the form here, I'll show it to you, with the box at the top and then just some lines underneath. If you have a printer and you want to print that out, you can. That's great. If you don't, no big deal. You can draw your own box, and then you can draw some lines underneath for sentences if you can write sentences. So if you were going to draw Little Red Hen and how she changed, what could you draw? Did you say at the beginning, there's Fox and Hedgehog and Crocodile, and she's saying, will you help? Right? She just kept asking them, will you help me? And then at the end, what is she saying to them? Sold out, right? And I forgot to draw the three little guys there. But yeah, she's kind of pointing her finger at them. She's saying, I'm sorry, sold out, right? So at the beginning, she was asking for help. At the end, she was changing her mind, wasn't she? She changed her mind. So if we wanted to write a sentence about this, we could say, Little Red Hen changed in the story when she stopped asking for help. At the beginning, she wanted their help. At the end, nope, right? She taught them a lesson by not sharing a cupcake because they didn't help out at all. She taught them a lesson by not sharing a cupcake. So I wrote a sentence about how she changed. She changed when she stopped asking for help. And then then the lesson that she learned, she taught them a lesson by not sharing a cupcake because they didn't help out at all. So if you were in Mrs. Longmire's class, I would have you go back to the Goldilocks and the Three Bears story again, and I would have you kind of think about, use those tracking sheets that you've been making about what Goldilocks was thinking and saying and doing, and start to think and use your thinking voice about, well, what do you think that means? What lesson is Goldie learning? Did she learn a lesson? I think she did. Did she change? I bet she did. I bet she never goes into a bear's house again. You think? Yeah. So I want you to think about, go back through your tracking notes that you took on Goldilocks, and I want you to think about how she changed and and the lesson that she learns. And then I would like you to write about that. Either write through pictures, draw a picture of Goldilocks at the beginning and draw a picture of Goldilocks at the end. And if you can write a sentence about how Goldilocks changes. Write a sentence about the lesson that Goldilocks learns. Okay, that's what I would have you do if you were in Mrs. Longmire's class. But your teacher might have an even better idea.